Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Now look, before I say what I gotta say here, let me just go ahead and put my tinfoil hat on. Now let me ask this one question. Don't you find it just a little bit odd, a little bit interesting, how anytime there's a whistleblower or a confidential source that points their fingers at the powers that be, they either disappear or get arrested? You notice that very interesting trend? How anybody who points the fingers at Joe Biden is supposedly a criminal or a war criminal or a foreign spy. Now look, I'm not saying it's possible that that's the case. It just seems like a little bit of a trend at this point. Anybody who betrays the Bidens, anybody who betrays the Clintons, either disappears or becomes the target of a federal investigation. Well, you guys won't believe this. Although you've probably already seen the news at this point, but renowned, highly respected investigative journalist at CBS, Catherine Herridge, who of course at the network was the premier journalist pursuing the Hunter Biden laptop story, she was just fired and had her office raided. A little interesting to say the least. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, take a look at this headline right over here from the New York Post. CBS seizes confidential files of fired reporter pursuing Hunter Biden laptop story in unprecedented move. The acclaimed CBS reporter who was investigating the Hunter Biden laptop scandal before she was fired last week had her personal files seized by the network in an unprecedented move, sources told the Post on Thursday. Catherine Herridge, who was in the middle of a First Amendment case being closely watched by journalists nationwide, was among 20 CBS News staffers let go as a part of a larger purge of hundreds of employees at parent company Paramount Global. Her firing had stunned coworkers, but the network's decision to hold onto her personal materials, along with her work laptop, where she may have had other confidential info, has left many staffers shaken, according to insiders. It's extraordinary. A source familiar with the situation told the Post, noting that the files, which are presumptively now the property of CBS News, mostly contain confidential material from Herridge's stints at both Fox and CBS. The source said that the network boxed up all of her personal belongings, except for Herridge's notes and files, and informed her that it would decide what, if anything, would be returned to her. They never seize documents when you're let go. Quote, they want to see what damaging documents she has. Well, don't you find that just interesting? I personally find it very interesting. I'm noticing a little bit of a trend here. Catherine Herridge is one of the few remaining journalists in the mainstream media. She's one of the few that you can follow her knowing that you're going to get good unbiased information. And she's also the person who's been reporting rather honestly relating to the Trump indictments, the Biden DOJ, and of course the Hunter Biden laptop story. And boom, she gets fired and her documents seized by her employer. Then of course there's the whole New York City Mayor Eric Adams thing. I mean, he was a Democrat superstar for a while there until he called out the federal government, aka Joe Biden, and then all of a sudden he was under investigation by Joe Biden's DOJ. Possibly a coincidence, I mean, I don't know, but of course it doesn't even end there. We all know what happened to the prosecutor who was investigating Burisma, the company that Hunter Biden was working with in Ukraine.
Interview, it's exclusive with Brian Kilmeade. Shokin said that he was not fired for corruption, but because he was overseeing an investigation into Burisma, the Ukrainian national gas company where Hunter Biden served on its board.
Complaints whatsoever, no problems with how I was performing at my job. I developed a very firm understanding of the fact that the Vice President was only acting in his own interests. He, generally speaking, handled Ukraine like it was his own backyard.
And of course, I forget the guy's name, but that Israeli arms merchant who pointed the finger again at the Bidens, well, that guy went into hiding. Devin Archer, Hunter Biden's close business ally and potential star witness against the Bidens. We also remember that he suddenly vanished. Hunter Biden's business partner, Devin Archer, is in hiding after receiving threats and fears for his family's safety, but will testify to Congress next week about his shady dealings with First Son and Joe. And now on top of all of it, the FBI informant behind the infamous FD 1023 FBI document suggesting Biden was being paid by Burisma executives essentially $5 million to shut up. Well, now the reports are that apparently he made it all up and he was being paid by the Russians and worked for the Russians, and he's now facing trial.
The stunning revelation overnight that one of the informants relied on by House Republicans said he was given information by the Russians, information the prosecutors say is false. And now, for the first time, we are hearing from Republicans who are processing this, you might say, spinning this news.
Every single Blue Anon leftist all over Twitter is now arguing that this completely exonerates Hunter Biden and by extension Joe Biden, but I am just not buying it. First of all, even if the supposed informant was allegedly being paid by the Russians or working on behalf of the Russians, it doesn't exonerate Hunter Biden or Joe Biden from everything we know about their business dealings in Ukraine, not to mention the business they conducted in other nations as well. But it also seems very, and I mean very, highly suspicious. You know, it's like the opposite of what we see with Donald Trump. With Trump, you have Trump allies that get hit so hard in these multi-pronged anti-Trump investigations that they all end up flipping and essentially turning on Donald Trump to save their own behinds. You know, it's almost as if they create witnesses out of thin air. But when we're talking about potential Joe Biden criminal activity in history, all the witnesses, every name that gets brought up, finds themselves in deep trouble. Or, of course, they're just too scared to speak and so they just mysteriously vanish. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into it, or maybe I'm not. I just find it all highly suspicious, especially this whole Catherine Herridge thing. You know, obviously CBS News that had operatives running Joe Biden's campaign messaging back in 2020 relating to the Hunter Biden laptop story.
Experts say it has all the hallmarks of information laundering.
This looks like your classic disinformation campaign.
Eric O'Neill is a former FBI operative.
Steal the information with a cyber attack, get the emails from Hunter Biden's account, and then put them on these laptops that are left at a repair store. And that's how the information is now laundered into the public.
Who do you think is behind this?
Well, the Russians would be my number one guess.
The goal of these incidents appears to be the same: to cast a cloud over the frontrunner in the closing weeks of the campaign using a drip of emails that create the air of scandal, even though Republican-led congressional investigations have never uncovered any evidence of wrongdoing by Vice President Biden.
Well, obviously, they would have some sort of interest in essentially shutting up Catherine Herridge at the behest of the Biden White House, especially going into a 2024 general where Joe Biden is clearly a weakened brand. It all just seems so incredibly coincidental, and I really don't know how you can possibly justify the seizing of her documents. They fired probably their best journalist out of literally nowhere and then raided her office and are keeping her documents. I guess it's yet again another day in the Democrat vision of America where political opponents get arrested, witnesses get dealt with, and journalists get their documents seized. And a little update just to finish off this video. Here's a release by the House Judiciary GOP. Jim Jordan launches inquiry into CBS News' seizure of Catherine Herridge's personal files following her unprecedented termination from the organization. The actions of CBS News threaten to chill effective journalism and weaken our nation's commitment to a free press. To see exactly what they find, I'll keep you guys updated as we go. All I know is that I'm noticing a trend here, and I feel as though I'm probably not the only one. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.